Hello everyone. In this session, I'm going to show you how we can create a very simple to-do app using a Flask framework in Python. So let's get started. Now, first right click on anywhere on the desktop, create a new folder, and let me name this folder as to-do app and hit enter. That's it. So this will be the folder location where we are going to create our app. So let me just open that folder, copy the location, and now you will have to open your command prompt and navigate to that particular folder. So here's my command prompt. You just have to type cd, give space, and paste the path and hit enter. First, what we are going to do, we are going to install a virtual environment software. So pip install virtual env. So this is the software which I'm going to install in this particular location of this particular folder. So my system already has that virtual environment software, so it is saying requirements are satisfied. Now what we have to do, we have to use this particular software name to create a virtual environment. So I'm going to say like this, virtual env. So that is the name of the software, and using that I'm going to say to do app. So this will be the virtual environment name which we are going to create. So as you can see here at the back end, we got that particular folder. Now in this folder, if you just open this folder, you'll get a separate folder called as scripts, and in this one you'll get one file called as activate. Okay, so this is the file we will use to activate our virtual environment. So now to activate the virtual environment, first what you have to do is you have to write the virtual environment's name just like this, then navigate to that scripts folder by putting backward slash, then again by hitting backward slash you just have to say activate. So hit enter, and if your virtual environment gets activated, you can see its name on the left side of the path over here. Okay, so once it is activated, all you have to do is you have to install the Flask library which is required for our application. So you just have to say pip install Flask and hit enter. It is going to download all the necessary files which is required for us to create a Flask application in Python. Now you can minimize this code, and now you can come back to that virtual environment. So this is the environment. So here, now you just have to copy this path, and now you can open your Visual Studio Code or any one of your editors, whichever you are using, and you have to navigate to this particular folder to write your Python code. So let me bring my terminal here. Let me close all of this. So first click on this option, or you can go from here as well, file, and you can say open folder, or you can directly come here and say open folder. Both are one and the same. Now let me paste that path over here and hit enter, and you will be inside that particular folder. Now you'll just have to say select folder, and that folder location will be opened here in your Visual Studio Code. So first you have to create the main file. So I'm going to create the main file name as app.py and hit enter. So this is the file. So first start creating the Flask project framework. So first what you have to do, so you have to say from Flask we want to import a class called as Flask itself. So here F will be capital Flask. So we have imported the class which is called as Flask from the Flask library itself. So the library name is in small letters and the class name is in capital. So F here should be capital like this. Okay, and this we are going to use the constructor of the Flask class like this. This is a constructor of Flask class. Inside that we have to pass underscore underscore name parameter like this. Okay, and we have to name the application. So I'll simply name my application as app itself like this. Okay, so this is how we are going to create a name for our app, and we have named it as app itself. Okay, now we have the final statement which we are supposed to write, that is if condition. We are going to say if the name, okay, of this particular application matches with the main module underscore underscore main, then we can say you run this app. So app dot run is the function which we are going to use to run this particular app. But if there is any kind of error or anything, we can start this application in debug mode also by giving debug equal to true as the parameter inside this run function. Okay, so this is the basic structure of our Flask application. Now in order to start the web pages, we have to write a functions for each and every route. See, suppose let's say there is a first page, and we have to go to that route. So we have to use the annotation app, that is the name of our app, and say route. Route is a function, and here if we simply give just a forward slash in single quotes or double quotes, it means it will start the starting page of our application. And for that we will have to create one function. I'll just name it as index, and it is going to return this message on the screen saying that hello Flask app, like this. So it is going to return as a string which says as hello Flask app. That's it. Okay, now in order to run this application, you just have to go to terminal, click on new terminal, and you'll be inside this particular location, the same to do app, and here you'll just have to type like this python and give some space, and you have to write this file name. This is the main file app.py. So here let me use app, not here, let me come to the output screen like this, app.py. Hit enter, and it's going to start. It's here, it says it is starting the server stats, and debugger is also active and all those things, and it is going to give you a link like this http 127.0.01 colon 5000. Okay, this is going to be the official link. You can copy paste this link or just hit control and uh, uh, and hit the left click button, and it is going to open up in a new browser your application. So let me bring that browser window over here. So as you can see, we have opened our app successfully at this particular URL, that is 127.0.01 colon 5000. So here we have a string right now which says hello Flask app, which is returning from our web application which we have written over here. Okay, now I don't want some text to be written like this. Okay, I want an HTML page to be displayed over here. Okay, so for that what we need to do is we are going to import one more function that is called as render underscore template. Okay, render underscore template is the function which is going to get that HTML page for us. So here we have to say render, okay, render template, and that template is called as index.html file, which we are going to create here in this particular location. So first what you have to do is you have to create a new folder called as templates itself. You cannot keep any other name, you have to keep it as templates itself, and in this particular folder you will have to create a file called as index.html. Okay, now I want to add some bootstrap coding to this one. So what I'll do, I'll just go to the bootstrap, getbootstrap.com website. Okay, you can just click on the documents, and it is going to give you a quick start HTML file with how you have to write the bootstrap code, and how you have to include the CSS and the JavaScript files. That is called as the CDN links. Okay, as you can see, the link tag has to be in the head tag, and the script tag has to be before closing the body tag. Okay, like this. So they have a ready-made template like this. So what I'll do is I'll simply copy this entire code here, and let me go to my Visual Studio Code and simply paste it over here. Okay, so this is how you add bootstrap coding. So this link has to be added in the head tag, and this has to be added at the bottom of the body tag, and whatever we write, it has to be before, whatever HTML code we write, it has to be before this particular code. So this is how we are going to start coding our application in Bootstrap. Okay, so let me just save this, and now it says hello world over here. Okay, and let me just remove off that hello world from there. Okay, and have one division over here like this. This will be the main division, so I'll simply name, I'll give a class name called as parent. Okay, so this will be the parent which will have all the divisions. Okay, and now here we'll have a header section. I'll use the header tag. Okay, it will have all the navigations and all those things. Then the later stages will create a separate divisions for that. Okay, so first in this header section, okay, let me just have an h1 tag saying that uh, to do app in Flask. So let me it like ASK. Okay, to do app in Flask like this. Okay, now let me just go to my web browser, go to my page, and let's refresh. So as you can see, now we are getting this particular text on the screen which says to do app in Flask. So that is what is there in our HTML page right now. Okay, so first of all, let me add for this header, little bit of Bootstrap class names. Okay, first of all, bg hyphen, I want to give it as warning, so it will give a yellow color background. Okay, bg stands for background. This is a Bootstrap class name. Let me just go to the page and refresh. So as you can see, we have got the yellow color background and we have the h1 over here. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to bring this text in the center of the page. So let me just go to the page, and this is the h1, and here let me add a Bootstrap class name called as text hyphen center, like this. And let's refresh our page, and as you can see, we have got that as well. Okay, now let us give a little bit of padding on all the sides. So here I'll say padding hyphen 3. I think this should do it. Let's come back and refresh. Okay, done. Okay, so we have our app ready with us. Okay, and now what we have to do is we have to create one form where we want to enter a new task every single time we click on the submit button. So let's go to our Visual Studio Code, and just after this header, and this header section, what I'll do, I'll have margin uh, at the bottom. Okay, margin at the bottom, or let's say I have margins on all the sides. uh, let's do like this. First of all, let me keep like this, margin hyphen uh, 3, or let's say 2. Okay, this will give margin on all the sides. Okay, up, down, left and right, everything. Okay, so let me just refresh. So as you can see, now we have the margin at the top also, left, right, everything. Okay, now let's come back to our code and the parent element. Okay, the entire parent element, let's put a border around it so that much more visibly okay for us. Okay, so as we have a border around our app right now. Now let's come here and start coding our form from where we are going to insert every day's task. So let's go to the Bootstrap website again, and here just click on forms, and it will give you different type of forms and how you can use it and all those things. Okay, I'll simply have this basic form. Okay, and see, let's simply just you can copy the code from here, come to your Visual Studio Code and just paste it over here like this. Okay, and this time I don't need this checkout button. Then we have this email email buttons and all those things, and that is also not required. I'll just remove this one. I just need only one input field. Okay, and here I'll say input for label for the input field, or I'll say like this, task field. Okay, this has to be called as enter today's task, not password. So enter today's task, like this. And here, see guys, whatever you have given here, okay, that should be the ID which is present over here whenever you are giving label. Okay, whenever you are giving label, so that is the ID, and that will be the for attribute which we are going to mention over here, task field. So here also ID is also task field. Okay, and now don't want it as a password. I want to see the text which is going to be written on the screen. So I'll say input type equal to text, and compulsorily we will have to give one name for that. So name equal to in double quotes you can say today's task. Okay, name equal to today's task, and we'll be having one submit button, and it says primary means blue color. I don't want in blue color. Let me say it in warning symbol itself. Okay, so all the buttons and everything will be yellow color. Okay, so button, and I'll have a very small button, so you can use a Bootstrap class name called as button small. SM stands for small, btn small, and btn hyphen warning means yellow color button. So let me just go back the page and let's refresh it, and as you can see, we have got a beautiful form which says enter today's task and have a submit button like this. Now let me just make it like 100% on the screen. So this will be our app which is going to look like this at the end. So now let's do one more thing. This division, this whole division, let's make it look like a container, so that we get a space on the left side as well as on the right side, little bit like this. So as you can see, we have made that particular division uh, like a little bit, left side also gap is there and right side also gap is there. So that's what this container class does to us. Okay, then this submit button. Okay, see, this submit button is since it is outside this particular division, so that's why it is not coming. So what I'll do, I'll simply maybe cut it from here and maybe add it over inside the division. Okay, inside the division. So now let me just go back to the code and means web page and refresh. So as you can see, we have got that inside the form as well. Now uh, we will have little bit of margin for this particular button. So margin 3 should do it on all the three sides, and it will appear in the little bit down and it towards the right also, and little bit like this. Okay, so we have our form ready with us, and now we just have to enter some task and click on the submit button, and it will get stored in the database. Okay, so let's create that first. Okay, so first the form, okay, its method, okay, its method which I'm going to use is post. Okay, post is used when we are entering something into the database. Okay, and what action it should check. Okay, action is going to be a function which I'll create in app.py called as insert task. Okay, this is going to be the function which I'm going to be using. So let me just simply copy that name. Let's first save this file. Let's come to app.py, and here what I'll do, I'll create a route, app.route route, and first you have to give the forward slash, then write the route like this. See, insert task is the route which we are going to enter into the database, and for that you will have to create one function called as, I'll create a function called as insert task itself. Okay, and which is going to return us our HTML page. Okay, see, at the end, once the task is entered, okay, it has to show all the tasks in the index.html page itself. So this function, whenever it is called, okay, it has to show us. So I'm going to use the render template function once again and say you have to show us index.html page itself. Okay, so this is what is going to happen right now. Okay, and here whenever this task is being entered, okay, from the form of the HTML page, so here we have to say methods allowed for this particular function is both post as well as get. Okay, so if the user can use the method post as well as get, but as for time being I am using only the method post, but I have given the option for both of them, so it can be post or it can be get as well. Okay, now here as soon as this function starts over here, so I will check that itself. See, there is a one more function called as request from Flask library, which we will have to import here at the top like this, and request dot methods. See, I'm saying if the method, okay, if the request method is equal to post, then what you have to do? So then first what you have to do is you have to get the task, get the task entered by the user from the form. Okay, this is what you have to do the first task if the request method is equal to post. So I'll say entered task is equal to, I'm going to again use the request method from the form. So whatever name we have kept, okay, whatever name we have kept over here, so this is the name, today's task, that is the name we have kept. So that name we have to copy and give here in this single quotes or double quotes like this. Okay, so this is the first task which you are going to do whenever the user is entering something from the HTML form. See, this is the form he will enter, and when he clicks on the submit button, the insert task function is going to get activated. Okay, so insert task function. Okay, and we have to get whatever they are entering the task. Okay, so here I'll make this spelling correct, that entered task like this. So today's task they will entered, and we have captured it as a variable. Now all you have to do is, now you will have to connect to the database and insert into that particular table where you are going to store this information about the task. Now for this, let's create a database just exactly in this to do app location itself. So first what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to that particular folder. So this is that particular folder. Copy the location like this and open a new command prompt. So let me just simply type cmd. Let's go to start and type cmd, and it will open up like this. So first we'll have to navigate to that particular folder like this, and then use sqlite3. Okay, you will have to have SQLite already installed in your system to do this. So sqlite3, I want to create a database, okay, that is called as to do list or to do app. So this is going to be the database name which I want to create. So I'll say .db, hit enter, and it would have created a database here in this particular location. But we will not be able to see it yet because we have not written anything inside this particular database yet. Okay, so first what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a table inside this particular database. So right now, if I simply say dot tables, hit enter, okay, it's not going to show anything because we have no tables. And as you can see right now, we have got that to do app here in this particular location. Okay, now let's create a table. So for creating a table, so create table, I'm going to use this SQL query called as to do list. To do list is the uh, table name. Okay, to do app is the database name. To do list is the table name which I want to keep. Okay, and first I want to keep an ID. It will be like integer type database data type of that integer value ID column in that particular database, and it is going to be the primary of that particular table. Okay, it's going to be the primary key of that particular table, and this is going to auto increment. It's going to auto increment itself as soon as 1 2 3 4 task keeps on coming. Okay, and the next column is the task, actual task. Okay, and that is going to be the text, and I'm going to say not null because I don't want the task to be left empty. So like this, we have successfully created a table. Hit enter and you'll be seeing that the table has been created. If you don't get any kind of error, which means we have successfully created the table. So now if I say dot tables again, and now it should display to do list. So this is the table which we have successfully created, which has one column called as ID, which is of integer type, and it's the primary key of that particular table to list. Okay, and we have one more column which is task, and which is a text type of a column, and you cannot leave that empty. So that's why I've given here as not null. And now let's add one dummy task inside that one. So you'll have to say insert into to do list, that is the table name. Okay, I want to insert only in the task column because ID will come automatically. So values. Okay, so here I will say like this, the first task for today. Okay, that since that is a string, you can either write it in single quotes or double quotes. I'll say like this, make Python notes. So this is going to be the first task which I'm going to mention in that particular table. So let me hit semicolon and hit enter. And now to see that task, we'll just have to say select star from to do list, semicolon at the last, and hit enter, and you'll be able to see that the first task is make Python notes and its ID is 1. Okay, so like this you can keep on inserting as many tasks as possible from backend. Okay, the same thing has to be done from the front end as well. So let me just first come here. Okay, so this is the location and we have created the database over here. Okay, now in order to do the database coding, okay, what you have to do is you have to create a separate file over here in the same location. Okay, I'll simply name it as database.py like this. And first you will have to import the sqlite3 library to do the coding part for the sqlite3. And next from class we are going to import one global reference variable that is called as G. Okay, this we'll be using throughout the application in order to connect to a database and to fetch the database and all the things which we are supposed to do from the database. Now in this file, I'm going to create a function which connects to the database. So I'll simply name it as connect underscore to database like this. And I'm going to use SQLite3 and say dot connect is the function to connect to a database, and that database name we have to mention over here. And this is that particular database name, to do app. So let me just simply copy this and say copy path over here, and let me give that path over here like this. Okay, and once you have written the path, okay, okay, I think we have missed the double quotes. Inside the double quotes we have to give that path. And first all the backward slashes has to be made like this as forward slash. So let me just make this into forward slash very quickly like this, and that's it. Okay, so we are saying our database is in this location and that database name is this one which you are supposed to connect to. And this whole thing, I'm going to store it as a variable called as SQL. Okay. Then finally, since I want the sqlite3 to get fetch me all the row wise. Okay. So you'll just have to say sqlite3 dot row row. Okay. And this I'm going to store it as a variable called as sql dot, you'll have to say row underscore factory, like this. Okay, so this is going to connect to the database, okay, which we have named it as SQL. And finally this function is going to return you that database which it has connected to. So this is the variable name which we are supposed to return. So this function is going to return the SQL variable which is going to connect to this particular database in this particular location. That's it. Okay, now uh, I want to create one more function to get the database, okay, to which we have connected to. Okay, now I'm going to say like if okay, if this variable g, okay, if this variable g, if this has an attribute, okay, called as a to do underscore db, okay, whether it has an attribute called as to do underscore db. So for that, what we have to do, we have to use a function called as has attr, okay, attr, like this. Okay, if it has an attribute called as to do, okay, then what we have to do, we have to return that to do app, see that variable g dot to do underscore db, like this. But if in case if it does not have see, I'll put the not statement here. Okay, if it does not has an attribute called as to do, then what we need to do, you need to say create that attribute. See, I'll say g dot, okay, create an attribute called as to do underscore db. And how do we get this attribute? By connecting to the database. So this is the function which connects to the database, and we will just simply copy this and paste it over here. Okay, so like this, what it does is it is going to create this to do database, okay, variable, and it is going to return us this particular variable. So this is the entire coding for SQLite 3. That's it. Okay, so we have our database file also which is ready with us. And now what we have to do, we have to come to the app.py file and we have to import those two functions from this database.py file. So you have to say from database, okay, please import, like this. Import, one is the get database, another one is to connect to database. So these are the two functions which we'll be using in our code in order to insert the task. So here we have a function which insert the tasks by, which is entered by the user, okay, and as soon as user enters something from the website, see if he enters here something, okay, it should connect to the database. So first let me create a variable called as db, okay, and I'll say get the database which you are trying to connect to. Okay, once when you have got the database db, we will execute tcecute. Using the execute function itself, we are going to say I want to execute an SQL statement that is insert into that table name which is called as to do list. Okay, so let me just grab this. So this is the whole thing. Okay, let me just copy this whole uh, insert query itself and write it over here. So let me just get rid of this and paste it over here like this. Okay, and you just have to say insert into to do list table. Okay, this is the column in which we want to insert, and this is the value which we want to insert in this particular table. Okay, and instead of giving here like this, you just have to give question mark over here. That's it. Okay, and once it is done, this question mark, okay, we have to mention this question mark. What is this question mark? See, that is the task entered by the user. So we'll copy this variable and put here, okay, as a string variable or something like that. Okay, so let me just use a single quotes and paste it over here. So this is how you are going to insert the task, and then finally you are going to say db dot commit. Okay, so this is going to be the final change, okay, which we are going to perform in this particular application, like this. Okay, and once okay, once the task is inserted, okay, once the task is inserted, Okay, all we have to do is it will come to this index.html file itself. Okay, so this is the first function, okay, which is used insert the task into the database table. But here one thing you have to understand, that this insert task function is going to show you your index.html page. Okay, but when all these operations are happening, okay, you need to refresh that page so that all the tasks gets shown to you. So as soon as you commit all the changes in the database, okay, here you will have to use one more return statement saying that you redirect okay, you redirect me to this URL underscore for function you have to use, and you have to say there is a function called as index. Okay, there is a function called as index to load this particular, okay, to load this particular function, okay, which runs this index.html code. Okay, and that also we will have to import from the Flask library. So let me put it here, URL underscore for. So whenever we are using the redirect function, see, so here let me write that redirect also. Okay, so like this. Okay, so now what we have done is we have inserted the task into the database and saved the, means we have committed all the changes to make it permanent, and then we have returned, okay, the index page itself, means we have reloaded the index page, okay, which we have reloaded the index page like that. Okay, so let's check whether this functionality, the front page functionality works. Okay, so now let's go to the website. Okay, let's refresh the code once, and here I had already created one task. Okay, I had already created one task, that is making Python notes, and its ID was 1. Okay, now if I enter one more task here, okay, say let me say make JavaScript notes. Okay, so this is going to be the second task, and when I click on submit, okay, so it says okay, we have made a small spelling mistake here. Whenever we are connecting to the database, it says the object has no attribute called as excut. I have missed e over here. Okay, and to identify where the mistake we have done is, we have to come here at the bottom, and it says in which line we have done the mistake, in app.py line number 17, and this is highlighted. See, as you can see, db.execute. Okay, let me just very quickly correct that, line number 17, exe. Okay, so we have done a very small spelling mistake. Okay, now let me just go back to the page. Okay, and let's refresh the page once. Okay, and then let's write a task called as make JavaScript notes, and then click on submit button, and let's go to the database from the backend and check whether the second task got added or not. Okay, so I'm going to say select star from to do list, that is the table name, semicolon, and enter, and as you can see we have, okay, so one mistake as I'm saying is, it is not entering the task which was here, okay, but it is entering the entered task variable name itself. Okay, so that is the mistake we have done. So let me just go back to the code, and here, okay, I have added a string variable over here which should not get added. The value, okay, the value entered by the user, today's task, okay, which we have stored it inside the entered the task, that should get added over here. Okay, so now let's simply save this file. Okay, let's go back here. Okay, and now first let me refresh this page, and let's say, okay, today's task is to make JavaScript nodes like this, and let's click on submit button. Okay, so when I clicked on submit button, okay, so here a third task should have got added. So let me just say again, select star from to do list semicolon. Okay, and as you can see now that error is also rectified, that third task, okay, whose ID is 3, it says to make JavaScript nodes today. Okay, so our functionality for adding the task, okay, is successfully complete. Okay, now what we need to do is, here only we have to create some kind of a division which shows all the tasks one by one in this index.html page itself. Okay, so let's do that in index.html page itself. Okay, so first let's come to the code, and here this is the function which shows okay, the starting page of the application, and here, okay, whenever first page is loading, it should fetch all the details from the database and show on the screen. So first of all, methods I'm going to allow for this particular function is both post as well as get. So let me write it here as a list variables post comma get. Okay, now as soon as this function starts, so what we will do is first we'll connect to the database. Okay, so I'll say get database is the function which connects me to the database, and db will execute an SQL query to fetch all the tasks from the database. So select star from to do list. So this is going to be the SQL query. Okay, and I'll simply name this one as the cursor. Okay, task underscore cursor. Okay, we have a task cursor which will execute this particular statement. Okay, and from this task cursor variable, okay, I'm going to apply the fetch all function. Okay, on this I'm going to use the fetch all function of the SQLite, and then here I'll say all tasks is equal to like this. Okay, so this will successfully fetch me all the tasks which are there in the HTML page. Okay, and then finally all those tasks, okay, as a variable I'm going to pass it inside the index.html page. So here I'll have to say all tasks is a variable name which I'm keeping, and all tasks are the this variable which is going to fetch all the tasks from the database table. So here is that variable name. Okay, so we have successfully sent a variable called as all tasks to index.html page. Okay, index.html page, and just after this particular form. Okay, so first let me just add one simple class name to this uh, class is equal to, see, I want margin at the bottom. Okay, margin at the bottom, let's say 5 pixels. And this whole form also, what you can do is you can create as a container. Okay, container, so that it will be smaller than the other size. And let's have a border also on all the sides of this particular form. Okay, and so let me just go back and check. Okay, so as you can see we have got this particular form, and we are having a margin at the bottom. Okay, now let's create a separate division after this form which will show me those tasks, all the tasks one by one. Okay, so first of all what I'm going to say here is, let me add a class name uh, like this. First of all, let's say container, then let's put a border around that, and let's say uh, here first let me put an h4 or something called as all tasks, all task list. And after h4 let's put one horizontal line by using the hr tag over here, and after that one, okay, we are going to give an individual division, okay, which will show us all the task lists. Okay, so here I'll simply say task task 1, task 2, task 3, like that. Okay, so this is the division like this. Okay, right now I'm simply hard coding the text like this just to see what is going on in the HTML page. So now let me just refresh it. So as you can see, we have got the task list, that is h4, and a horizontal line over here, and we are seeing the first task on the screen like this. Okay, we have just hard coded this text for time being. Okay, later on we will fetch this one from the database itself, and we'll be having one delete button over here as well. Okay, when the task is finished you will have to click on the delete button, and this whole thing will go away. Okay, so that is the functionality which we are going to perform next. So let's come to our this thing, and here what we have to say is, if at all the task is there, okay, we have to loop through all the tasks and we have to show this particular division. Okay, we have to show this particular division. So now what I'm going to do is, here after this horizontal line, okay, see here like this, using this syntax, okay, that is the curly brace, then the percentage symbol, or you can say the modular symbol. Here I will loop through all the tasks. So for each task, okay, in all tasks. Okay, see guys, all tasks is a variable which we have sent to index.html page from app.py file. See, all tasks is a variable name. So that is what we are fetching over here, all the tasks. So if each task is there, okay, that is the task which we are supposed to show here. Okay, so each task, okay, and inside the square bracket you will have to mention the column name which we have kept inside this particular table. Okay, So the table name is to do list, okay, and the column is task. So from each task, we have to show that particular task over here like this. And since we are looping over each and every task, this division will get formed as many times the number of tasks are there. Okay, so here just have to use this syntax once again, okay, and end the for loop over here like this. So let me just save this one, and let me just show you on the screen. Let me just refresh this page and you'll be able to see, okay, each task. Okay, so here I've done a very silly mistake. Okay, I've added this okay, I've added this text inside single quotes. Okay, we have to use a double code, okay, double curly brace, that is called as the Jinja syntax. Okay, I have missed that one. Okay, so whenever we are using something to show on, from the database, you will have to use the Jinja code. That is the two times we have to put this curly braces. Okay, now let's save the file, put over page and refresh it. Okay, so as you can see, we are seeing the three tasks. One is make Python notes, and the error which we had done was enter the task, and then the third task to make JavaScript notes. Okay, so this is the three nodes which we are fetching from the database right now. Okay, and just like this, okay, just like this, what I want is, when you have shown this particular division, so let me just bring it into one single line. Okay guys, this is the division. Okay, this is the division which gets shown if any task is there in the database table or not. And among this along with this division, okay, I would like to see one more delete button, okay, just next to that. Okay, so either you can say a button like this which says delete on that, okay, del button. And let me just save it and show you guys. Let me just go back to the page and let's refresh the page. Okay, so as you can see, we have make Python and one delete button, enter task and one delete button, to make JavaScript notes and one delete button. Okay, so as many tasks are there, those many delete buttons also will get created along with that. Okay, now the next functionality will be when I click on this delete button, okay, based on its ID, that task is going to get deleted from the database. So this is the next step which we have to do. Okay, first let me make this into a proper button like structure using the Bootstrap class names and all those things. Okay, so now here what we can do is for this button, okay, I'm going to add a class name which says btn, that the curly brace will sorry, double quotes, we have to say btn. Okay, and btn hyphen small button, and bg background for this one, I want to keep it as danger in a red color, DANGR. That is the Bootstrap class name which I want to mention. So let's go to the website and let's refresh the page. And as you can see, we have got three red color delete buttons like that. Okay, and here you can say text color. Okay, text hyphen. You can say it as light. Okay, that is a Bootstrap class name which will make the text color as white color. So let me just, and as you can see, text color has become white. Okay, now we need to make these two come in the same line. Okay, we need to make those two come in the same line. So for that, what I'll do is, I'll just here I'll just create a separate division over like this. Okay, this will act like a parent for these two, one division and one button. So let me just copy and paste this here inside that. Okay, so let me just bring it this in the next line. So this division, okay, which it will act like a parent to these two elements. One is that task as well as that delete button over here. Okay, now what I'll do is, here I'll add a class name that is called as display hyphen flexor. So in short, we just write it as d hyphen flexor. Okay, and both of them will come in the same line. But since I want one on the left side and one on the right side, I'll use one more class name that is called as justify hyphen content hyphen between. Okay, so this is the class name. We'll make these two come in the same line like an inline elements. Okay, that is because of this one class name, and there will be a gap in between those two elements because of this class name, that is justify hyphen content hyphen between. So let me just come back here. let me save the code and let's refresh the HTML page. So as you can see, okay, our task is on the left side and the button is on the right side like this. Okay, and we'll do one more thing, that this whole division, okay, this first division should have little bit of margin, as well as maybe one underline also can be given. So let's come to our code, and we can say like this whole division, okay, this whole division can have a little bit of margin at the bottom, let's say of 2 pixels. So mb hyphen 2, and let's say it has after this, okay, after this let's say it has a little bit of horizontal line after each and every task. Okay, so each and every task, and this division also I'll put one class name, that is container, so that it is a little bit smaller than in width than the other contents in the HTML page. So let me go and let me just refresh it. Okay, okay, so here I think we have made some kind of a mistake. Okay, so not supposed to happen. See, the margin got applied at the bottom, but it did apply the container part properly, so I'll just remove that one. Okay, and there is no horizontal line also, which is we are not seeing on the screen. So let me just go to the page and let's refresh it. So as you can see, we have those things are properly aligned, but this delete button didn't align themselves properly. Okay, so let me just go back to the code, and first let me just remove this horizontal line over from here. Okay, maybe we can do it directly by using Bootstrap class name itself. Okay, so as you can see, we have got a little bit of margin. Okay, and then let me come here. Okay, let me come back to my code. Let me come back to my code. Okay, and add a horizontal line, okay, for this particular division by using the Bootstrap class name itself. Okay, so we have one class name called as text hyphen decoration, okay, hyphen, okay, underline. Okay, so this is a Bootstrap class name which we put an underline over each and every division. So let me just go to the page and let me refresh the code, and as you can see, we have got that underline over that particular division. Okay, this is how we can give that underline. Okay, and one more thing what we can do is we can use a little bit of padding, let's say padding hyphen 3 on all the sides, and let me just refresh. Okay, so as you can see, so we have our task ready with us. Okay, and now the only thing left for us to do is whenever we click on this delete button, okay, it should delete that particular task, okay, based on that particular ID which we are going to choose. Okay, so now let me just code that functionality as well. Okay, and here this button, uh, let me just make the text hyphen right. Okay, so that we'll get that white color button as well. So this del word which is, okay, yes. Okay, so this is in white, so black color. Now let me just enter a new task here, and let me show you that task has to appear here. uh, Here let me say the fourth task I want to make is make Java notes like this. Hit enter, and you will be able to see that fourth task also got getting added over here in this particular list. Okay, and if this margin is too much, okay, margin is too much and the padding is also too much, what I'll do, I'll just add padding as 1. Okay, and margin bottom also I'll add just 1. Okay, this should be more than enough, I guess. So let me just go back to the page and let's refresh. So as you can see, okay, this is much better than the previous one. Okay, so now the last thing to do is we need to use this delete button to delete that particular task, and that function we will write it in app.py file. Okay, so just like this app.route for inserting task, I'm going to have one more function. Okay, so here we'll have to say app.route route. To delete the task, we are going to have a separate route called as delete task, and here we are going to create a function called as delete task like this. And here, whenever we are deleting the task, okay, I will use an integer value, that is the ID of the particular task, for deleting the task. Okay, so for this I'm going to use some methods, post as well as get. So both are allowed, so I'll put it as a list. So let me say get also and close the list. And here, okay, and here this function is going to receive the ID of that particular task, and using that ID we are going to delete that particular task. Okay, so now all you have to do, you have to say if the request dot method is equal to get. Okay, so this time I'm using the get function of HTML. Okay, so if the request dot method is get, then I will connect to the database and I will write the SQL query to delete the task. So first db is equal to get the database to which we are going to connect, and then db.execute is the function to write the SQL query to delete the task. So let me say delete from to do list, that is the table name. Okay, where this id is equal to question mark. Okay, so where will this id come from? Okay, so that is this particular id which we have, which this function is going to get. Okay, this which this function is going to get. Okay, and once you have successfully deleted, to make the changes permanent, you just have to say commit at the last, db.commit function at the last. Okay, now whenever you have committed, okay, whenever you have made the changes properly, okay, what you need to do is, okay, you need to return, okay, you need to return and redirect yourself, okay, using the url underscore for function to the main function, that is the index, which will show you the first page of the application. Means it is just like reloading the page. And this delete task, okay, once after deleting the task, okay, by default only this will return. Okay, let me add the return statement and use the render template function to go to the index.html page. That's it. Okay, now let's save this file and check out the application if it is working perfectly or not. Okay, but one small thing you have to add. Okay, so I just asked you like from where this id is going to come from. Okay, so let's go to index.html page. Okay, see guys, this is the button. Okay, this is the button. Okay, when you click on this button, okay, automatically this task id should go to the delete function. Okay, it should go to the delete task function like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this button tag from here and say this is a anchor tag, okay, which is going to go to this particular router. See, in href I'm going to say, okay, a double quotes first you will have to add, then you will have to add the code go to the delete task function. Okay, and it has to take the id of that particular task to that particular function, like that. Okay, so let's code that one. So in order to do that, what you'll have to do here is you'll have to again use the Jinja code, that is the two curly braces, and here you'll have to use the url underscore for function. Okay, and here you will just have to mention what is that function's name which gets activated. So our function name is called as delete task. Okay, let me just correctly write the spellings. Okay, delete task. So here we have mentioned that this function should get triggered, okay, whenever this delete button is clicked. Okay, whenever the delete button is clicked, okay, this function should get triggered. So whenever this button, okay, now see, this is going to get activated, but how is that id is going to go to this particular page? Okay, for that what you have to do is here only I'll just put a comma and I'll create a variable like this. Id is equal to, okay, since you are looping through each and every task, okay, so you will have to write that variable name first. Okay, and then inside the square bracket, okay, you will have to write the column name, okay, what you have kept here in this particular table. Okay, so column name here we have kept it as id, okay, in that to do list app. Okay, and here since you have used double quotes on the outside, here inside you have to use single quotes and mention the id of that each task. See, each task's id is going to go to delete task button. So whenever the delete button is clicked, whichever delete button is clicked, its ID is going to go to delete task function. Okay, so this is how you are going to create that delete functionality in that particular page. So let me just save this file. Okay, let's go to the app.py, check for the final delete from to-do list, where id equal to question mark. So question mark is nothing but the id which is going to come through the get method. Okay, it comes automatically through get method whenever we are using this from a anchor tag, or you can say it as a link. So let me just save the code. Okay, finally let's go to the page, let's refresh the page, and let's click on this second task, okay, whose id is 2. Okay, and it should only get deleted. Okay, and now we are left with only 3 tasks. Okay, so our delete functionality is also working perfectly fine, and you can check this from the backend as well. Okay, see guys, here the second task was there, which was called as entered task. Okay, now after deleting, it should not appear anymore, so select star from to do list semicolon, hit enter, and as you can see, now we have only 1, 3 and 4 tasks. Okay, the id of second task got deleted from the list. Okay, now let me just minimize this page, and you can check for the other ones also. Okay, now this id is 3, this id is 4, and this id is 1. Okay, so one by one you can keep on deleting any one of them, and it is going to reload this index.html page, and it is going to show, or if it doesn't have anything, it will not show anything. Okay, so now let us insert one more task, and let's see the output. Okay, so I'll say walk the dog, that is the today's task. Okay, let's click on submit, and that will appear here in the task list. Okay, and once it is done, I'll click on the delete button, and it will be gone. Okay, so we have successfully created to-do list app using the Flask framework along with the sqlite3 database. So I hope you like this video, and thank you everyone for your love and support. Please liking and subscribe my channel. Okay, I'll be sharing this code in the GitHub as well, and I'll be sharing the links for all the other different types of applications as well in the description. Okay, thank you very much.